All right. So, welcome to LINL, the podcast, season one, episode three. The topic that we're going to discuss. We had such a good time talking about the horror genre in episode two that we decided to come back to that. Um, so tonight we're going to give you our top picks. Each of us have picks for top horror movies, top five, and bottom five. And we have not confided in one another about our list. So this is, it'll be a surprise, for each of us here. Um, so yeah, but before we get started, just want to introduce co-host Ken Hansen is here, artist and sculptor
Hi,
from
how's it
Lady
going?
Point, and Ray Zaire, drummer and drummer, drummer and Jet fan.
Uh,
Are you gonna? Yeah, nice. Are you gonna show off Aaron Rodgers at all, or no? Is he?
he'll show it. Well, he'll have his list,
All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So yeah, we just want to set the stage a little bit. It's been a busy last several days, creatively, artistically. Ken and I, it was really more about Ken, but Ken had art and sculpture presented at a Hamptons Raw event last Friday in Waynescott, correct, Ken?
That's right. Yep.
And it was a pretty cool event. I was invited there to connect with a few people about LINL Radio, so I thought that was kind of cool. It was an interesting event to say the least.
Oh yes.
Yeah. There were performers, and there was a taco truck, so yeah, so it was pretty cool. It really was pretty cool. I saw
Yeah.
an Instagram video of it today, and I was like, yeah, there was there was definitely some good artwork there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for
I
sure.
I'm a little sore that I didn't go home with that Friday the 13th Jason mask
Oh, I
painting.
know. I know you were definitely eyeing. You were on the fence. You were like,
Yeah,
you know.
I was eyeing it so much, and she took it down and scooted out to the parking lot with it. So yeah.
Did you sample
And
the taco?
I had quesadillas.
No, it's fair enough.
Yeah, they were good. I have to tell you though, I didn't feel my didn't feel quite right for a few days afterwards. It tasted good.
That's
Uh,
good.
that's a different kind of horror. And then on my own end, on Monday night, I interviewed Tom Kelly from the rock group Black Dawn, and that was pretty cool. That's posted on Lionel, and this will be posted on Lionel on the webpage. And Tuesday night, I appeared on Double Trouble Radio and played a few songs. And was interviewed on another, on a different radio program than my own, obviously. And then coming up this weekend, Ray and I have two shows. We're playing at Mr. Beery Saturday, and weather permitting, we're playing at the Queens Rock Fest in Woodhaven on Sunday. So a lot going on this week. We're running the musical gauntlet, the art
Yes,
music gauntlet.
I would say so.
But yeah, all right. So we're gonna start getting into our subject matter here. The subject matter, like I said, is our picks for our favorite horror films and our least favorite. We're going to do our favorites first because I have a feeling the least favorite might be the more humorous conversation. So we'll save that for the end. Before we get into it, every single person, Ken, Ray, myself, anyone who might be viewing this, everyone has different reasons for liking or disliking something. But I'm a teacher, so I'm in the habit of establishing a criteria. Why do I like this or why do I dislike it, and have some reasoning for that. You can't just give a kid an F. You got to have like a reason why there's an F or an A. Okay. So I'm just going to go through my own criteria real quickly, just because I make reference to it later on. So one category was sentimentality, like the film evokes memories. It makes some connection in your life. Maybe it's not the greatest movie ever, but it connects, you connect with it because of when you saw it or where you saw it. Or maybe the opposite, maybe you hate that movie because it reminds you of something.
Yeah, sure.
Um, Originality, the film breaks away from the norms of the horror genre, for better or worse, seeks to extend the boundaries of the genre, and some way improves or decreases the genre's impact as a whole. And I'm going to talk about a movie that decreases. Uh, I can't wait to get to that. Okay, creativity. The concepts of the film are imaginative, or they lack imagination. Film standards, just like the directing is good, the acting is good, the dialogue is good, the cast is good, the typical things that, the standards that make a film either good or bad. And then social relevance. I watched something on YouTube that talked about the subtext in a lot of horror movies, and that got me into, viewing movies that way. What's the subtext? What is the message that's being sent here? So I'm going to be referring to that with some of these movies. Okay. So the film in some way points towards or emphasizes an aspect of society, a social class, or fails to do this in any kind of manner. Okay. All right. So like I said, I don't want to bore you guys with too much criteria or any audience with that. I just wanted to lay it out there because I'll make a little reference to that. So here we are, our top 5 favorite horror films, and I'm not sure who's going to go first here.
Oh yeah, I didn't really that it didn't occur to me either. I mean,
I think we do the fantasy draft. Like, let's say if Ray goes first, then Ken, and then myself, then I'll go first the second round.
All right, yeah, that works.
But I mean, I'm willing to go first, or what would you like?
I'm just trying to get my phone to stand still.
Oh, okay. Yeah, first things first, huh?
That's not a pretty angle.
You got to get the you got to get the laptop. You don't have a laptop?
Yeah, I should probably set that up.
That looks good.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, it just keeps falling.
Oh,
like
okay.
It doesn't want to stay down.
Put Aaron Rodgers behind it.
Yeah.
Hold on. I need him front and center.
You should put him in like a little sarcophagus since he was just in. All right, so so I'm going to go first then, okay?
Okay.
All right, so here's my 5th favorite horror movie, okay? I just want to bring it. I have my tablet here too to refer, just in case you have to refer to anything. So my 5th favorite horror movie is Hell Night. I don't know if you guys remember that one. I could tell you.
That was from the 60s or something?
Oh, 1981.
Oh, okay.
Starring Linda Blair.
Okay.
Just a quick plot summary. It's a sorority and fraternity hazing kind of thing where 2 girls and 2 guys have to spend the night in Garth Manor. And, if they, successfully are, still alive by dawn, they'll be members of their respective sororities and fraternities.
Okay.
And of course, the heads of the fraternities and the sororities want to play all these pranks on them. Now, there's this backstory on Garth Manor, this abandoned mansion, and the Garths were very rich people, but they were, I don't know if they were cursed or whatever. They had children, and each one of them had some kind of awful deformity, or one of them was deformed, another one was born mute and deaf, and there were 2 girls and 2 boys born. And finally, actually, his name was Raymond Garth. He had enough of living in this, with this awful wife and this awful family that he murdered them all in front of the youngest son and then hung himself.
Right.
But when the authorities arrived, they only found they found everyone deceased except for 2.
Okay.
And so the legend is that they're still inhabiting this Garth Manor.
Okay.
Okay. Neither of you guys remember this movie at all?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
I think
one.
I saw parts of it, but
yeah.
I think I'm thinking of Legend of Hell House or something. I think that was what I was thinking of, something like that. But
cool.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you some reasons why I like this movie. Okay. There was a halfway decent cast. Vincent Van Patten was Seth, the surfer dude, in it. There is a social class subtext here in 2 ways. First of all, the Garths, they were these rich people living in a mansion, but they were reclusive and they were all like deformed and messed up or whatever. So maybe that's a statement on the upper class.
Right. Oh, I like that.
And also the final girl, Marty, who was played by Linda Blair, was a female working class hero. She was her father was a mechanic, and she was a mechanic as well. And she was just into the sorority just because of the advantages it would give her to like do well with her classes, and she would have a place to live, whatever. So she wasn't so big on the frat and the sorority, but she just was kind of using it for her own. So, and I read something also that she has like a neutral name, like Marty could be a man's name or a girl's name, and whether that was intentional or not. And you know, this is 1981. For today, there would be no big deal to have a character like that. But I guess it was a little bit different then. She somewhat shuns the status of being in the sorority, and she's critical of Jeff, who is the guy that she's kind of paired with because he's a spoiled rich kid.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Jeff was played by Peter Barton. I don't know if you guys remember The Powers of Matthew Starr. Do you remember that?
It rings a bell.
It was a television series for very briefly when we were young.
Okay.
Okay,
yeah, I definitely heard of it.
He was the star of The Powers of Matthew Starr. He also he had his face pushed in by Jason in the shower in part of 13.4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's Peter Barton.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So now I also like that there were two. You don't really know in the film that there are two monstrous humans, both Andrew and Morris, the dark sons. We're led to believe that we're safe when Morris is killed, but then there's still Andrew around. So, so I kind of I remember liking that when I first saw it.
It was like a surprise sort of thing.
And there was still another one lurking there.
Right.
When I was reading about it, it seems like a polarizing movie. Like critics either praised it or hated it. They either mocked Linda Blair's performance or they gave her credit for it. It's not very violent, but it's atmospheric. It's like a melding of the slasher genre, which was big in the early 80s, and the gothic haunted mansion genre. Now, these are my own thoughts. I found the actors were affable, too. Like, even the ones, like the sorority head, Peter, I think his name was, and Scott, like, they were the ones who were playing the pranks on the floor, and they ended up getting killed by the Garth son. I thought everybody was sort of likable, as opposed to, say, like, I don't know, like Rob Zombie's Halloween, where I just couldn't stand every single person that was in it.
Right.
There was something likable about them. They weren't annoying. And this one really relies heavy on sentimentality for me. I remember watching it late at night up in my room on my little color TV. I didn't have cable in there, so it was either on Channel 9 or Channel 11. And the time and the setting and the atmosphere was just like a perfect mix to view this movie, and it's stayed with me ever since.
Nice.
So there's my fifth pick, Hell Night from 1981. All right. So to one of you gentlemen.
I'll go up next. Is that okay, Ray?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Go for me, too.
Okay. Lou will get a kick out of this. My number 5 pick is Suspiria. And,
that sounds familiar.
Yeah, so we discussed it on the previous podcast.
Yes.
And not that it's the best story or anything, but I really I love the cinematography, the scenery, like he did a great job. Dario Argento, like I thought, like it was just artfully done, and like the story wasn't the best, but like it's like you said, like there was an atmosphere to it, and it brought me back to a time like I love the 70s, and like it just it always it just takes me back, and what was her name, the lead actress Jessica Harper, she was good. She was in a number of movies at that time, around that time, like late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, I think that movie was 1977.
Yeah, and so it's just like I don't know. It's like it's one of those movies. Like anytime that I see that it's on, like I own a copy of it, but it's like it's hidden away somewhere. I don't know. But you don't usually see that it's on, and it's like I don't, it's the basic plot is that Jessica Harper is she accepts this invitation to a ballet school in Germany, and she gets there and they're just like, no, we didn't tell you to come here, and I don't know, and she just ends up staying there, and like all these really bizarre things start happening, like maggots start falling from the ceiling, and this one girl, a scene, she gets like caught she's trying to like escape from the house, and she falls in this room with all this barbed wire, and like the more she moves around, she's like just caught up in it, and it's like, and I just found it strange. Like it seems like a really long movie, but it's really not. But yeah, I mean that's really all I have to say. I thought the acting was okay. It wasn't Oscar worthy certainly, but I thought they all did a good job, and it was just like a horror movie. It was just like, okay, I take it for what it is, and that's it. Like it dealt with witches, basically, and yeah, that was the big reveal at the end. Like it's like, oh, it's a ballet, building with witches running it. And it's like, okay, whatever you say.
Yeah. What was I going to say about it? I forget now. It's gone. But
I mean, but that's basically my.
I watched it very recently.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and I can't say for sure that I watched it all the way through the first time I saw it. Like I think I came in, I'm like, I got to see this from the beginning. This just looks so weird, and I just I always enjoyed it. So there you go, number 5 for me.
Okay. All right, Ray, what you got?
It's fine. I didn't really put them in any particular order because they don't. This doesn't matter to me. Like they're all.
If you don't mind, Ray, I'm just going to give the disclaimer that of the three of us, Ray is probably like he's not as avid a horror viewer as Ken and myself. So he's giving it the old college try or whatever, but he just doesn't have like the background, I guess, because it's not right. Am I correct in saying that?
There won't be anything on my list that nobody doesn't know.
Right. Okay.
But I didn't really put them in order because they're all like number one. To me, like they're all good. There's no like.
Yeah.
In particular about. So I'll start with the one I have at the end, which is the Thing, of course.
Yes.
Good. I mean, what do we say? We don't even need to describe how great that movie is.
Yeah. What I think is so interesting is that it's science fiction and horror. Like, you know what I mean? It's got elements of horror with the gore and the paranoia and everything, but it's obviously it's a science fiction movie too.
And which I had a problem with some movies, and I'll say one movie that's not on any of my list, like Aliens. I just didn't feel like it's like a horror movie, particularly.
But I think the Thing is though.
The Thing definitely. I think is fine. Yeah, it crosses both pretty well. It's just like it's not in space.
Yeah.
No.
So, but I mean, the acting, the intensity, the special effects at the time, of course, were groundbreaking.
Yeah, sure.
But like
the movie was poorly reviewed when it first came out.
Yeah, I can't understand why. It's so intense.
But it just it grew in its like popularity and its following over time. But it was kind of ripped when it first came out.
Yeah, well, maybe it was that part where the guy was building the UFO underground. Like, how was he going to get it out?
That's really smart. No, he isn't. How's he going to get this thing out of underground?
He was like, "Oh, I didn't think it."
Yeah.
Well, they had to speed things along a little bit here and there.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, but no, it's such a like. I mean, if it's on, I could just watch it.
Definitely. Kurt Russell was awesome,
and I love the fact that it's technically like a remake.
Oh yeah,
but it's its own thing. Thing.
Mm-hmm. I watched the original recently, and it is very different. It's just sort of like an alien. It doesn't take the shape of things.
Right.
That.
It was more like they were inspired by that movie more than a remake.
The thing from another world, I think it was called.
Yeah. So that's one of my favorites. I just love the intensity from the beginning to the end. Like it never
it just has an atmosphere throughout it. It's like it's great. It's a good one. It's really good.
Right at the beginning when McReady dumps his drink into the chess game.
Down with the computer.
Cheating, you know what. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, but it really, I think it is a groundbreaking movie, like I said, because it does cross genres. It's definitely science fiction, but it's definitely horror.
Right.
And the use of the practical effects was a big deal then.
Yeah, it still holds up today. I mean, it does.
Yeah.
I think so.
Sometimes as like a little mental memory game, I name the 12 guys in my mind.
Right. Right.
There were exactly 12 men or whatever.
Yeah.
Not counting the Norwegians.
That,
No,
that was in the sequel,
yeah,
the Norwegians. So
yeah.
Yeah.
that's on my neutral list.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
haven't
okay.
seen the sequel. I didn't hear good things, but I never saw it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
I think neutral is the best way of
Yeah.
describing
yeah.
it. All right. So we'll go to our next round. So Ray, if we're doing a fantasy draft, you would start this round off.
Yeah, I can do that. This was a tough one. It's like the Evil Dead 2. It's like though it's like
Okay.
it
Wow.
borders on comedy a little bit, but sometimes I think some of it gets confused as comedy as they really were trying to be scary. Like,
That's great.
but I just love Sam Raimi. Like at that time, like he was just so good. Like
Yeah.
the way he shot things was so revolutionary. Like no one did anything like that.
That's
Yeah.
a really good choice. That's a good one.
I think they were just when they made the first one, they were just kids with a camera and a small budget.
Yeah.
I watched something recently on that franchise or whatever. I can't really, for some reason, and I don't mean to.
No, take it away. You probably
Yeah,
know my movies better than I do.
no, I can't really in my mind distinguish two from one right
Oh,
now.
right,
But yeah, no, those were really frightening movies. I mean,
Yeah,
I know they were funny too, but they were frightening.
No, the
Yeah,
demons they were
I
very
think part
scary.
one like tried to be scary, tried to be really scary, and it turned out there was like some comedy by accident, and I think they kind of just went with it in part two, and it worked. Like it
It's a good formula.
yeah, because I like part one too, but part two is to me the much better movie.
Yeah, I'm interested now because like I said, I can't really distinguish them in my mind. I'd have to watch two again.
Yeah, I
Yeah, and
haven't
then
seen them in a long
the third
time.
one is really good too, but that just goes off and
Yes,
it goes very extreme to the other comedy side.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we're up to Ken, I guess, for your number 4.
Okay, number 4, I have Phantasm.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's this is like for the same reason as Suspiria. I love like the late '70s feel to it. It just reminds me of growing up in that time, and that's yet another movie I can watch, over and over again. It was written and directed by Don Coscarelli, and I saw this thing on how he came up with the idea. He went to a cabin, and he's just like, I'm gonna write a movie, and I think his parents gave him money to shoot the movie, and this guy didn't drink or do drugs, and like he came up with this whole idea. Like I find that fascinating. I'm like, wow, like the finger he was drinking a Coke out of a styrofoam cup, and he punched his finger through it, and that's how he said he came up with the scene when they cut off 12
Yeah,
inch
it's
finger,
like a little box.
and it's like yeah. So yeah, and it's just it's like one long bad dream, but like there is some like I don't know if they're intentionally funny like moments, but like the like with the tall man walking down the street, like and just like things like that. Like I don't think they certainly meant to make it funny, but I sure enjoyed it, laughed and stuff, and yeah, and they've I think they made 5 before Angus Scrimm finally passed away. It was called Phantasm 5 Ravager.
Yeah.
And it had Reggie in it, it brought back some of the old characters, but it's first one, it was the best, really. It's in my opinion. And it just had a creepy feel. Like the tall man was a great villain, and it's and the idea that he's taking people and crunching them down to send them to another planet because the gravity's so dense, and like it's like, wow, this guy really put some thought into this. Like
yeah.
and I also believe that it was made like the late '70s. They ran into trouble with Star Wars because they looked like Jawas. They had the brown,
Okay.
So there was some sort of financial, dispute about that, I think. But yeah, it's a great one. I mean, I don't know, Ray, if you have you never seen the Phantasm movies?
I saw the first one, maybe the second one.
Right.
But
And
definitely
it was
the first
it
one.
was like the second one was like made in the '80s, I think. But yeah, it's one of my favorites. I love I love the whole story and how weird it is. So there you go.
He's a creepy character. There's no doubt about
Yes,
that.
indeed.
Yeah. He stands out.
Oh yes.
I have very distinct memories of the first Phantasm. Um, I don't know, this is going way back when we were kids. I don't know if Ray was in this, but I was in this sort of like, it was like a Boy Scouts version of the Navy called the Sea Rangers.
Really?
Yeah, and with my brother, and my father was like an officer and stuff like that.
Oh wow.
Ray, were you in that or no?
No, I was a cubby.
Oh, okay, because Gary, I know Gary was in it, and a couple of our friends or whatever. And we went on like a dude ranch trip, and there was like a mess hall or a cottage that was just like where the kitchen was and where everyone ate their meals. And at night they set up a reel to reel film.
Oh wow.
And that's where I first saw Phantasm projected on.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great way to see it for the first time. Like that's awesome.
Yeah. And I was a kid, and you guys, I made reference before that, my parents were very strict about what I watched and everything when I was young. And, that opening scene, that might have been the first time I actually ever saw boobies, to be honest.
Yeah.
and they belonged to Angus Scrim in the end. So
How twisted is that?
yeah. I didn't know what to think, But so somehow, I just ended up being included, even though I was a little kid and I saw a Phantasm. But
that's great.
They had the reels,
Yeah. That's the way to
how
see it.
far back we're going.
That's too funny.
Should I go with my number 4?
Yeah, number 4.
Okay, so mine is Friday the 13th, Part 2.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah. Also from 1981, directed by Steve Miner. He also did Part 3 of Friday the 13th, Halloween H2O, and Day of the Dead, among others.
Wow.
This film marks the debut of Jason Voorhees as the series' main antagonist. Just like the Halloween franchise, this is what I read, that Friday the 13th was originally intended to be an anthology series, but because of that surprise ending and the popularity of that in the first film, they decided to continue the story with Jason.
Okay.
Numerous cuts had to be made in order to obtain an R rating. Now, these are my own thoughts on Friday the 13th Part 2 coming up. It was financially less successful than the first film, and it received negative reviews, but I don't care. I liked it, I still like it, and I will continue to like it.
Yeah.
It has a charm and a realism that, to me, disappeared the moment the huge, unstoppable Jason of Part 3 came into being. Like, what the hell's the damn point? You can't beat him, so why just kill me then?
Yeah, I know. It's like I can't run anywhere.
Yeah, so I run as fast as I can. The guy walks 3 steps and he's right next to me. So Part 2's Jason was believable. He got kicked in the nuts and he went down just like any of us would. He cowered at the chainsaw brandished at him.
Right.
I like this one. He stood on a chair and it collapsed. I've actually had that happen to me when I sat in one. So. Now, I have a little sentimentality here. I love the scene where Ginny, played by the adorable Amy Steele, who reminds me of a counselor at the summer camp I attended when I was young.
Wow.
Yeah, obviously she wasn't my counselor. I'm a boy, but I just was in love with this.
Yeah.
And her name's Gina.
Wow.
So it's like close to Ginny. So I always associate Amy Steele with that, prepubescent love that I have. Like when I see like hearts come out of my eyes, like in the park.
Yeah.
But I like that scene where she's with Paul in the room and she realizes there's someone in this effing room with us. Like that was genuinely scary.
That is scary.
There's a similar scene plays out in Hell Night where Linda Blair and Peter Barton are in the room and they think they're safe and alone and they're watching the door, but there's a trap door underneath a rug and one of the guards comes up through there. So I like Friday the 13th Part 3, but I feel like the series hit its high note with Part 2. The score and the sound effects definitely contribute to how scary it was. The daytime scene when Deputy Winslow pursues Jason into the deep woods shack is great.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like a reminder that we're not safe even in the daylight hours.
Yeah. I remember that I'm
Yeah.
sorry, not to, that part where he hits him with the hammer, like that stuck with me as a kid. I was like, oh, like I was like, that's bad. Like,
Yeah. You know, we don't really even see that much of what Deputy Winslow saw, and that's scary too.
right.
When we did our last episode, I couldn't remember who Jason's mother was played by. It was Betsy Palmer, so I just wanted to throw that out there.
Oh, okay.
Now, this is another accomplishment of Friday the 13th Part 2. Roger Ebert refused to write a print review for the series ever again after this one.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I think
Wow.
that's an accomplishment. Connecting with Ken's Suspiria pick, it used elements of Italian horror films like The Spear, the murder with the spear.
Right.
I think that was in a movie called Bay of Blood or something like that. I saw it at some point. So there was like some precedent for the things that they did.
Right.
Now, I talked about the idea of subtext. I don't think there's any subtext in Friday the 13th Part 2.
Yeah, it was a slasher. I mean, it was a good slasher movie. You know?
Yeah, it wasn't deep. But I find the idea of an actual human Jason, not this unstoppable force, living like an animal in the woods, already addled by whatever disability he was born with, seeking revenge for his decapitated mother. I find it oddly believable and oddly plausible and therefore effective. So
yeah,
every time that movie's on, I could watch it from beginning
oh
to
yeah,
end.
yeah, for sure.
So there's so I guess we wrapped up our fourth. So I go again, don't I?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fantasy,
number 3.
Fantasy draft. Okay, so we move up to number 3. My third pick is The Beast Within.
Oh, good one.
From 1982. I'm partial to Man into Beast movies. Maybe because I'm bestial myself. There was a decent cast in this movie. Ronnie Cox, he played Eli in this movie. He was Drew in Deliverance. So he was in. Paul Clemens is Michael. He's the kid who turns into the Locust. His finest and only role. B.B. Besh is Caroline. L.Q. Jones is Sheriff Poole. He was Pat Webb in Casino.
Oh, get out of here. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I like listening to the resumes of some of the actors in this movie because, it's just one discussion. So the movie begins with Caroline and Eli McCleary. They just have gotten married, and they have a car accident, and that leaves Caroline alone. Eli goes to get help or whatever, and she's exposed to this creature that attacks her. So not 10 minutes into the movie, there's a violent sex crime. This is exploitation, definitely, but I feel like there's something more inherent in films where these things take place, whether it's intentional or not. We have a Man into Beast movie, and it begins with a violent sex crime, and I feel like it's saying something about the possibilities of human beings.
Yes. That's awesome. That's good.
So it takes, and like I said, I don't know if they intended to make these connections, but this is what I see.
Right.
It took place in a small town in Mississippi, and during this time, there was a fascination with the rural part of America. Like Texas Chainsaw too. The highways and byways where it's like lawless and anything could be out there.
Right.
I also have a note that it's a coming of age film. I guess so. So just to review, I'm going to just review the plot a little bit. The Kerwins conspired to hide the family secret of Billy Connors, who had an affair with Lionel Kerwin's wife. Lionel finds out about the affair, and he chained Billy in the basement and fed him the remains of deceased humans. And because of that, I don't know, inexplicably, Billy metamorphosized into a monster. Billy broke free. He killed Lionel, raped Caroline, who was Michael's mother. That beginning scene was shot by the Manning Kerwins and presumably returned to the basement to die.
Right.
And then later on, so Caroline is impregnated by this thing. And later on, when he becomes 17, and, Locust manifests every 17 years.
Right, right.
But so these are my own thoughts on this. It's a film also that's about burying dark secrets and mistakes. When we do this, we give new life to those mistakes. We form an allegiance with them instead of bringing them to light and to justice and eliminating them. We do so out of fear for our own well-being when it's actually against our well-being to do this.
Right.
So that's just my own thoughts on,
No, that's pretty deep, man. That's pretty deep.
yeah.
That's good. That's really good.
There was a really disgusting scene in that movie that had nothing to do with violence. It had to do with chopped meat. Okay. Edwin Kerwin gets a delivery of groceries, and Michael comes in kind of at the same time, and Edwin thinks Michael's the grocery boy, and he takes out the chopped meat, and he's got his stained T-shirt on, and he's smoking a cigarette and a drink, and he's kneading the chopped meat, and he puts sauce in it, and
Oh man,
it's probably the most revolting thing I've ever seen. It had nothing to do with special effects or violence.
That's funny.
I thought it was a somewhat original Man into Beast film.
Mm-hmm.
It has a trademark and iconic transformation scene. And I think it kind of put an end to the excessive use of these air bladders and stuff.
Right.
What could be done with that after transforming a man into a locust?
Yeah, that's true. That's a very good point. Yeah.
So I think that, like there were a lot of transformation scenes around that time, and I think that was the one that made folks move on.
yeah. It's like, all right, we get it.
yeah. So that was my pick for number 3. Who's next? Ray or Ken? I forget.
I guess Ray. You're up.
Ray's the middleman.
I'll do it.
Okay.
This will be my third. Let's see. Okay, Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Now we're talking about the Donald Sutherland.
Oh yeah, honorable mention to
No.
Donald Sutherland. Yeah.
But we're talking about that version of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Jeff Goldblum. Yeah.
There was another one that I struggled with the sci-fi,
Yeah.
But my rule is if it took place here, then I was okay with it. Like on Earth, right?
That to come to think of it, kind of similar to The Thing, where there's the paranoia. And it does take place on Earth, So I definitely see it as a horror film and a sci-fi film.
Yeah,
well, actually,
I just remember watching that one. It was very, like it always stuck with me. That one,
yeah, my parents took me to the theater to see it. I was like, what, 5, 6? Like it freaked me out. Definitely.
Yeah, he talks about how the dog man.
The dog was on the bum's face on the dog's body.
I still see that scene in my mind, like it was, like I just watched
it's like burned in there forever. Sure,
it's so freaky. Yeah,
it is. But that's
you probably saw things like that when you were on the job all the time.
Yeah, in the subway system.
Lou actually lent me the book Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and it's it. And he was like, "This is a great read. You'll blow through it." I think I read it in 2 days. I was like, it was awesome. It was such a good book.
I wish it were longer. Like
yeah. But that was a freaky movie. All right.
That's why I never read the book. Is it very close to the movie? Did they stay pretty original too?
I talked about it a little bit in the last issue. It takes place in a small town, not in an urban. It takes place in Santa Mira, where a lot of horror stories and movies take place.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a small town with one road in and one road out. It's not. What did you say, Ken? San Francisco?
Yeah, I think it was San Francisco. That's where
Yeah. So they moved it into an urban setting, which is even more frightening because there's more people.
Yep.
It's similar, but it has its own. The ending is very different in the book.
Yeah, but it just keeps you like so you just keep coming back. You're like, I got what's going on here, and then like when it's over, you're like, damn it,
Yeah.
Those pods that they they were.
Oh yeah, yep.
They were hatching
hair,
from.
like,
it was always so scary to me. I don't know
it
what.
Was like the web like hair. It was like.
Yeah.
I think Donald Sutherland just passed, didn't he?
He did. Sadly, yeah. That's too bad.
Somehow his naked ass always made a way into the movie. Somehow, Animal House.
It is true.
Another one, Fear of the Dog. Don't look now, or something like that, and you see his ass a lot. He must have like an ass clause in his contract.
Yeah, he did. He was very proud of his ass.
If you have a good one, you put it out there.
Hey, I'm not giving it a rating. I'm just saying it was there.
That'll be the next podcast: the top 5 asses and worst asses.
Can Donald Sutherland be ranked like 4th and 3rd and 2nd?
That's great.
All right, yeah. So we got material for another episode now.
That's great.
Yeah. So now what we're up to, Ken?
Oh yeah. So number 3.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, Ray. Were you done?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, all
That's
right.
enough.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
So speaking of Man, It's a Beast. Number 3 is An American Werewolf in London. I just like I love that movie. Like it's just it always it's that time period again. Yes, and I was like I think 10 years old, and I watched it with my dad. Like it was on cable, and I was like hiding under the blanket. He thought it was the most hysterical thing when like the boys get attacked by the werewolf, and you know, and I think John Landis he wrote and directed it, and I think like his whole thing was just like what must it really be like to turn into a werewolf, like, and like I think he was very fascinated with werewolves, and like and he pulled it off. Like it seemed so like it'd be painful, and like and
Yeah.
and you if somebody told you you're going to turn into a werewolf, you probably wouldn't listen. You'd be like, what are you're nuts, like but it just builds and it has a perfect balance of humor and horror. Like there's some good one-liners in there, and the makeup was incredible, obviously, and I think that to this day, like I mean, I saw the Wolfman with Benicio del Toro. It was okay, like, but this one I have to give the edge to American Werewolf in London. Like, it just I don't know, there was just something unique about it.
Oh yeah, no,
And
absolutely.
and speaking of asses, he wakes up in the zoo. You see him run through the zoo.
Yeah, I think you'd be on the top 10 ass list. We're making asses of ourselves right now.
It's great.
Yeah.
And then like like he finally realizes he is oh, and I wanted to point this out because I saw it recently. I don't know, did you guys ever see that movie Snatched with Brad Pitt, and it was like a jewel heist movie. Like there's this
Maybe a while ago. I don't remember.
yeah, there's this character named Bricktop, and like he's actually the taxi driver in American Werewolf in London. I'm like, oh my god, like that's him. I just picked that, like but so he tries to get himself arrested. He's gonna kill himself. He just can't do it. So he's in the
Queen Elizabeth is a man.
What's that?
Yeah, Queen Elizabeth is a man.
Oh yes, that's yes. Yes. Winston Churchill was full of shit.
Yeah.
But so yeah, and then he has to like meet his victims in the movie house, and they're just like you must die, David Kessler, and it's just like I think anyone could relate. It's just like maybe I'll just sit here and see what happens, and it's just like and you like
once in the Lon Chaney, he is just laying there and hair grows on his face.
Yeah, like the guy comes up like he's making noise, and it's like, oh wait, run, and then like you just hear like ah.
Rarely in horror films does the murderer ever see like the consequences of their
I thought that was a fascinating touch. It was a good touch. And then and then they tried to make American Werewolf in Paris, which I think we saw together, and it was just awful. It was so bad. It was all CGI.
That was
not
a bad movie.
Oh, I see Aaron.
Here he is.
Yeah.
That's it for my number 3.
Okay, I think Ken, you go again, right?
Okay, yeah. If we're gonna, I guess I should go next then. Yes, number 2 is The Shining. It's like that's one of it's like I've never read the book. I should point that out. And a lot of Stephen King purists would be like, "Oh, you suck," because Stanley Kubrick totally made it his own vision. And I'm like, yes, that's true to a degree, and you could certainly feel that way. But I just think they made something like they really captured something. Like Stanley Kubrick was a genius, like no doubt about it. And it was just one of those things that had to happen. Like I think like it was meant to be. And that movie has a creepiness in an atmosphere that just it lasts throughout, and it doesn't let up. Like it's like and when Jack Nicholson starts losing his mind, and like it's free. The woman in the bathtub, like she comes out and like he says like kissing her, and then she's like like it's just it's so creepy. Like and the kid was great. He played Danny Torrance. My dad used to give Shelley Duvall a lot of crap. He's like, I don't know why they got this goofy looking woman. I'm like, I thought she was good. She seemed like kind of unhinged and stuff, and it was a great story. I mean, from beginning to end. That's like I watch that movie at least once a year. It's like one of my favorites. And I know it's different, like there was no maze in the book, and instead of an axe, it was a sledgehammer, I believe, and you
The
know, it's
ending, the
yeah,
ending of the book was terrible.
yeah, is that right?
It was so stupid.
Really?
Don't they go fishing or something like that, or they go something?
The house becomes, I mean, the hotel becomes actually alive.
Oh man,
It was
see,
so stupid. It was one of, you know, it was one
Stephen
of
King.
Stephen King's stories where he wrote himself into a corner and then he just had like a really stupid ending. You know?
yeah, yeah.
No,
Well, see, I
that
mean, I'll read
happens a
it one
lot
day,
in
I'm
his
sure.
career.
Yeah. You know, you read 1,000 pages of The Stand, and then the hand of God comes down and saves everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Well,
cool,
that's
but that's
yeah.
great. But you could have done that in 10 pages.
Yeah, he's like that. He's like that great baseball team that just doesn't have a good closer. Like,
Exactly, like the '90s Atlanta Braves.
Yeah. So maybe it was a good thing that Stanley Kubrick stepped in, and he was just like, and there's this
Oh,
one
yeah.
scene, like when what's his name, the chef,
Not
Scatman
Scatman.
Brothers, I
Yeah.
forget Dick Halloran, that's it.
Yeah.
He's driving, he's coming back from Florida because he's going to save Danny and Wendy, and he passes an accident, and it's like a tractor trailer like crushes, like it's like a red beetle. And that's what Stephen King wanted, like that. He wrote Jack Torrance drove the red beetle up, and Stanley Kubrick was like, "No, I'm using a yellow one." He would give him crap like that. Like he's just like, "Yeah, look, there's your car all crushed and stuff."
Yeah.
He just seems kind of a dick sometimes. Right? What are you gonna do? But it's a great movie.
I'd be the first to say the movie's better than the book. So
Yeah.
and with all the subtleties in it, I mean, we could go on and on about that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I watched that video with all these things I never noticed before.
Oh, the Room 237, right?
Yeah, but just and all the about how the layout of the hotel is impossible.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
You
It's
see
great.
that there's a hallway, and then you go to the left, and then you go into a room that's so deep that but there's supposed to be a hallway behind.
Yeah, and there's like a window, and then it definitely bends your brain. That movie.
I want to see it again. I'm trying to not rent it, but
yeah.
it's on from time to time. But after seeing all these little subtleties in it, I want to watch it again.
Rewatch it, yeah, definitely. If you get a chance, it's good stuff.
I thought about The Shining myself, but I was like, it was another one I struggled with. Is it horror? Or is it kind of transcends horror a little bit more, like a thriller? Like it has almost its own.
Once again, the paranoia.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's a great. Yeah, that's one of my favorites too.
Oh yeah,
Jack Nicholson. I always say about Jack Nicholson: is he a great actor, or is he just great at being Jack Nicholson?
I know. Yeah, it's
he's always the same guy in every movie, but like you can't get enough of him. Like he's just the way he is, his personality is intoxicating. Like,
yes,
like just his face, like the way he talks, the way he smiles. Like it's all there.
The scene with Lloyd the bartender is great. Excuse me. It's just it's good from beginning to end. It's a long movie, but I used to watch. I remember just being on my couch. My dad would be watching it, and I'd be like, "Wow, this is a great movie."
The way you see him in that movie, I think that's how he really that's how he is in real life. Like there's no difference.
I'm sure he is. Well, I hear he's not doing so good health wise these days, but that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
he's up there. He's the last. He's been around a long time. But so anyway, that's my number 2.
All right. I guess Ray, you're up.
Like this is one of my scariest movies. Definitely, as a youngster, Poltergeist.
Oh yeah, I watched
definitely.
that movie too.
Yeah, that movie like put me sleeping with my parents like for a week. I think.
I was afraid to go in the shower or the bathroom.
Oh
man.
Yeah, because it could get you anywhere. Really, it didn't matter where you were. Like it was just that's a good one.
Yeah, that movie I had to put on my list just because of how effective it was.
Oh yeah.
Of course it's done well, and the acting, of course, is great. But this the effectiveness of it, there's really no laughing moments. Now maybe, of course, as older people, but
it's just it builds nicely too. It's like it starts off with like a few things moving, and then it really ramps it up. It's just like wow.
It's almost like fun. Like they put the helmet on. I can't remember, and then
it's so scary.
It slides across the floor, and then it becomes more and more like malevolent.
Yep, yeah. No,
I
that
think maybe
that's a great
I
one.
think
That's a
maybe
great.
the tree scene, maybe, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
you could have did with
It
that. Like the
was
clown was so scary,
that
man.
was creepy. That
Yeah.
nobody. There's not one person that ever saw that was just like, "Oh, I'm not scared of this thing." Like,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
you are.
Ah, no way.
There were actual. I mean, we probably also, there were actual skeletons used in that pool.
I heard that too. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
that's
They were cheaper than fake skeletons.
wow.
Yeah,
That's creepy, man. Being in a
yeah,
pool with like in the water, like you
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
There was a Cursed Films episode on Poltergeist.
Oh, is that
Yeah,
right? I don't think I
two of
saw
the
that
kids.
one. I
Yeah,
don't think
two of
I
the
did.
kids died. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
well, the girl, what was her name in the
Carol
movie?
Ann.
Yeah, Carol Ann.
Yeah,
She had a congenital illness.
yeah, yeah. There was something wrong with like her stomach or her
Yeah,
thyroid or something. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And
So she had. I mean, had nothing to do with a curse.
right. And then the older sister, she got killed. Like her boyfriend, like
Yeah,
choked her or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
yeah,
So there was some bad juju with that, I guess.
yeah, sure.
But,
But yeah, no, that was definitely a powerhouse, frightening movie back
oh yeah,
then. All right. So you got more to say on that one, or?
No, we're good.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go with my second to the top, and it's The Howling,
Oh, nice.
directed by Joe Dante in 1981. P. Wallace was Karen White. Patrick McNee was Dr. George Wagner. He was also Sir Dennis Eaton Hogg
Oh,
in
that's right.
Final Tap. John Carradine was in it, but he was basically just like a prop in that movie at that point.
Right.
Slim Pickens. Now, Christopher Stone played Bill Neal, who was Karen, Dee Wallace's husband or Karen's husband.
Right.
Ken, you'll like his resume. He made appearances on Manimal.
Oh, I remember that. Oh, man.
I have the full DVD collection of it. I got
Oh, man.
Fantasy Island. He was on,
Wow.
and Simon and Simon.
That is quite the resume.
Ah.
Yeah.
That is good. That is good.
I prefer this one to American Werewolf in London only because I knew Ken was going to choose American Werewolf.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
The movie, it's another Man into Beast movie that begins with an attempted sex crime. Eddie Quist, wants to attack Karen in the porno movie theater at, opening. He's not successful in it. He's shot by the police or whatever, but it's a Man into Beast movie that in the first 10 minutes, there's an attempted sex crime.
Mm-hmm.
There is a subtext here, and these aren't necessarily my own thoughts. I've just read up on it a lot. Oh yes, that's right. Around 2 years before that, there was the Jonestown massacre.
Oh yeah. Wow.
What was it? Ghana or New Guinea or something like that?
Yeah, it was like Guyana, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so there's like maybe a little comparison with that forest community known as the Colony, where all the werewolves were. I read up on that Jonestown thing, and one thing I guess a misconception that I had was there were some suicide. I mean, there were some suicides, but there were many murders.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
There were people that were unwillingly, injected with poison. I didn't, you think of it as like a mass suicide.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of murder.
No, that there's like a weird story behind that. Like some people think it was like a government controlled mind experiment, like MK Ultra. And if I'm not mistaken, like a congressman got killed who was the first congressman. I'll never remember his name now, but he went down there to go see what was going on, and they wouldn't let him leave. They shot him before he got on the plane and stuff. So a lot of weirdness to
that. This movie used graphic practical effects to revolutionize the movie monster, just like American Werewolf did.
Right.
The two, Rick Baker, who did American Werewolf, his assistant Rob Botton was the one who did Howling. Rick Baker was working on the Howling and left to do American Werewolf.
Wow.
Yeah, so you had, now you had the creation of the werewolf rather than just the man with, hair glued to his face.
Yep.
There are other themes and subtext such as human indulgence into their primal animalistic desires. It focuses on the sexual aspect of werewolves in several ways. and also comments on television sensationalization of violence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Karen is a reporter, and she's going. You know, they're trying to find this Eddie Quist at the beginning, and it's like a big ratings thing. And
Right.
at the end of the movie, you know, she's gonna turn into a werewolf and, on set and everything.
Right.
Eddie Quist and his sister Marsha are the prime examples of the sexualization of werewolves.
Mm-hmm.
Marsha is like referred to as a nympho early on. So also Roger Corman made a cameo appearance in this movie.
Right. Right. I remember you mentioned that. That's crazy.
The American Werewolf and The Howling were released in the same year, so it was like a werewolf craze, you know, right around the time.
That was like Tombstone and Wyatt Earp, you know, like.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, The Howling spurred sequels like My Sister is a Werewolf with an oddly out of place Christopher Lee. I always told Ken he's got to watch that with his sister Lisa. Yeah. That movie is awful. It's really awful. Anyway, okay, so here are my thoughts on it. To me, the movie is effective because it has a story to it. It begins in the city with the tale of Eddie Quist, and then it brings us out to the wooded colony where the werewolves all reside. The fact that some of the horror takes place during the daylight, just like in Friday the 13th Part 2, it adds to the frightening aspect of it, as if to say you're not safe at night, but you're not safe during the daytime either.
Right.
You know, it's not just nighttime when these werewolves come out.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that the minor characters were a little bit too much portrayed as caricatures, but I find it forgivable.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's what, like I said, you know, you can pick and choose between American Werewolf, but I knew Ken was going to talk about American Werewolf, so I figured I'd talk about The Howling.
I had a feeling you were going to bring up The Howling, so it's good. It's all good.
Yeah. All right, so now we're up to number one, right?
Oh, this is it. Who's
and
going?
I go?
I think you go now again.
Okay.
Number one, drum roll.
Fasten your seatbelt. My top pick is from the year 2000, not from the 80s. Shadow of the Vampire.
Wow.
It's a fictionalized account of the making of the movie Nosferatu.
Wow.
Oh yeah, that's a William Dafoe, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I have seen it. Yeah, that's a good movie.
John Malkovich played the director Frederick Wilhelm Murnau. Carrie Elways was Fritz. He was also David Lochner on Seinfeld.
That's right.
Boy, you could do a lot better than him. And Ken, he was Nick in The Crush.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah. And Caitlin McCormack was Greta. It was directed by E. Elias, and I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name. It's Merhige. Merhige. To me, it meets these criteria: originality, creativity, film standards, and social relevance. And I have some of my own thoughts that I didn't read elsewhere on this movie.
Mm-hmm.
There are themes: greed and ambition, because, you know, this Murnau wants to make this realistic movie, and he's just, you know, he'll go to any length to do it. Succumbing to substance abuse. We see that with Greta, and who is the main actress, and we see that with Murnau. The true power of a female versus the false power of a female, and I'll explain what that's about.
Okay.
It's original because it blurs the line between a false reality and the making of an actual movie. In my opinion, it's the most unique and well executed of any vampire movie.
Wow.
Just to go over the plot, Murnau, unable to procure the rights to Bram Stoker's novel, sets out to create his own take on the vampire legend. In this case, the vampire is Count Orlok, played by Best Supporting Actor winner Willem Dafoe. So, like, not too many Academy Awards go to horror movies. But,
yeah, no, that's for sure.
Yeah. Orlok is in Czechoslovakia and purchasing real estate in Germany, as opposed to Transylvania and London in the Bram Stoker story.
Right.
I thought it was a successful merging of today and yesterday with its transitions from color to black and white. Orlok and Murnau enter into a deal that Orlok will play himself in the movie. He's making believe he's a character actor, Max Schreck. And Murnau promises him Greta when the film is done.
Oh, shit.
Murnau has no scruples. He's an addict, and he will stop at nothing to make what he believes to be an authentic vampire film. Now, here's what I mean about true feminine power versus false feminine power. Greta comes across as very self-affected, the star of the show who should be catered to and pampered, but is in fact not so powerful. And this, like I said, this comes from me. I didn't read this anywhere.
Okay.
She's a pawn in Murnau's game.
Right.
And she's offered up like a commodity, and she's served up on a platter to Orlok at the end by the men.
Right. Right.
She's drugged, and
Wow.
she's basically handed to her death.
Wow.
Murnau and his film crew, they're the ones that are responsible. The men just use her as a pawn.
Yeah.
She's quite powerless to avoid her fate. But who's the most powerful character in this film? It's not Orlok. It is the woman who ages earlier changed Orlok into a vampire.
Right.
She prayed because it's only he says he talks about it for maybe a minute, where he's asked by they're drinking and everything like that, and he's asked, how did you become a vampire? And he says it was woman.
Right.
It was the woman who ages earlier changed Orlok into a vampire. She's the most powerful character in this movie.
Right.
She preyed on him and she changed him into a Nosferatu. And that's a power that Orlok never recalls having for himself. He never had the power to change someone else into a vampire.
Oh, wow.
So this woman who was mentioned very, very briefly that's the true feminine power in this movie.
Yeah. Wow.
And she's more powerful than Orlok ever was. So unseen and only briefly spoken about, the most powerful player in this drama is indeed a woman in stark contrast to the falsely powerful Greta.
Right.
So that's my take on true feminine power versus false feminine power.
I'm going to have to see that. I don't think I've ever seen it complete. I've seen bits and pieces, but I never watched it. Maybe it's on Prime. I'll have to look. But
yeah, I own the DVD. I rented it. I realized I have the DVD. I was pissed. $4 for no reason. So Orlok says it was woman. And it's not a specific name. It's more of a concept.
Right.
He gradually eats Murnau's crew, so I think that's kind of cool. Testing the limits of the deal that they struck. The movie also successfully integrates real scenes from the actual Nosferatu film into, you can't really tell the difference at times.
Wow.
Here's a weak point. Everything has a weak point. Nothing's perfect. Defoe's bald cap. It looked bad at times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it almost is damaging to the quality of the movie, but it's such a strong film that it's forgivable by me.
Yeah. Okay. It's not the worst thing.
But at times I just want to rip it off. It has a strong ending. Murnau films the death of his crew at the hands of Orlok after the drug Greta has already been killed. Is that frightening, if you ask me, mirror scene where Greta, Orlok is like lurking over her, and she peers into a mirror and doesn't see his reflection. And she's freaking out, and the men are just kind of going about their business, serving her up on a platter.
Damn.
And Murnau is commanding the rampaging Orlok back to his original mark or his original place in the set, stating that if it is not in the frame, it doesn't exist. The rest of the crew enter, allowing sunlight into the room and killing Orlok. Murnau asks for someone to grab the slate and provide an end board, the room littered with the dead, thus accentuating his sick obsessiveness with sacrificing everything for the sake of his art. So those are my notes on Shadow of the Vampire.
Yeah, I got to see that now.
Yeah, I really think it's the best made horror movie.
Yeah, yeah. I remember seeing Willem Dafoe. He looked just like Orlok, Max Schreck. He looked just like him. And I'm gonna have to check that out as soon as I get a chance.
Yeah.
You know what I also forgot to ask? Like, remember we were gonna do an honorable mention? Like, do we do all our number ones and then do an honorable mention?
I guess so. Yeah, I didn't come up with any, but if if you want to, yeah, sure.
Okay.
So you're gonna do your number one?
Yeah. I'll go. Ray, you're good.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So yeah, I don't think this is going to be a surprise to Lou, but the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is number one.
Okay.
This is the movie, yes, that probably scarred me the most psychologically growing up, and it's like there was definitely underlying themes, like what was really going on. It's like the kids go and they run out of gas, and it was like there was a gas shortage in the 70s, and it was also like a commentary on like the cruelty of butchering animals and stuff, and it was just kind of like, how do you like it? Like, like.
Yeah, some of the most shocking scenes are the photographs that show
Oh
livestock
yeah,
being butchered at the beginning.
yes, and it was like, apparently it was like they filmed it in the summer in Texas, and it was like, I don't know, it was like over 100 degrees in that farmhouse, and like and they just shot overnight, like they didn't even stop, like, and like, so everyone was really on edge, and like it's why they, and it's like it seemed like all the people were really crazy, like the family of cannibals, like Leatherface, and the one girl gets away, and it's just, I mean, it's just like, it's really I don't know if anybody like expected it, and like, when he throws the girl on the meat hook, like it's just like, and I saw how they pulled that off, how it made it look like they really did it, but it was just like, it was just like straps and stuff, but it was so effective, like, and it was just like, and I'm sure for back, it was at 73, for back in that time, people were probably like, oh my god, like people were like leaving the theater, like, cause and then he
They were thinking
proceeds
it
to
was in
cut
the
up.
hospital.
Yeah, he proceeds to cut up her boyfriend while she's hanging on the meat hook. But you never see any of that. Like, it's just
Oh,
implied. He's just like,
yeah.
"Meh,"
That's it, violent.
and that's even worse. I think
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, it's like, oh my god, like, and so that movie, I would definitely say, it's out of all horror movies, that one probably got to me the most. Like, because I would just, don't get me wrong, Friday the 13th is great. Like, some those that scared me growing up, and the kill scenes, but that was just like the one where I would just be like, if I heard a chainsaw, I'd be like, oh my god, like, it would just remind me of that movie. But yeah, it was just, and it was written and directed by Toby Hooper, who
Yeah.
I think did he, I don't know, he worked on Poltergeist, I think, on some aspect of it. I'm not sure. He might have written Poltergeist or something, but he was great. Toby Hooper. He's I've seen him do like stuff on YouTube, interviews, and he always has a cigar and a Dr. Pepper. Like, it's but yeah, that's my favorite, my number one pick. There you have it.
Toby Hooper directed Poltergeist.
Oh, he did. I always thought it was Steven Spielberg. See, that's where the confusion was.
Maybe
Yeah.
he was the producer.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Spiller was a producer.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, he had a knack for the horror for sure. Toby Hooper. But yeah, I'll just quickly mention this honorable mention. Well, not because it's and Lou, I think we certainly watched this together. It's called Nightmare City. And it's like a zombie movie back from like the early 80s. I don't remember the year exactly, but people always point back to the remake of Dawn of the Dead, like that was Fast Zombies. Like, this was actually the first movie about fast zombies. And the reason I wanted to mention it, like, the main character, it's an Italian film. I don't know if you remember, like,
I think Hugo Stiglitz is in it. Right?
Yes, I was just gonna say, like, so that must be where he got that name for that character, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, so he must be a fan of the film, Quentin Tarantino, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know if you remember why it was like the Steve Donis guy, like he was like the reporter, and like the plane lands, and like all these like mutated zombies get out with like weapons, like.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my honorable mention.
Hugo Stiglitz was in a few like bizarre horror.
Yeah, so I guess, is that like a running joke or something, like that name? Like,
I don't know. I mean, maybe just maybe Tarantino just liked his work.
Yeah. I just found that interesting. So yeah, there you have it.
All right.
Ray, take us to the end of the best.
Let me see. Honorable mentions. I did have Nightmare on Elm Street, and I just didn't think they were. And even Friday the 13th Part 2, because they just created some iconic characters.
Yeah.
You can't. There's not much you could compare to Freddy and Jason. I mean, they'll be around forever.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Maybe they could chop off a few of the movies that shouldn't be around forever, but
Yeah. We'll get to that.
yeah. Oh yeah.
But Ray, did you say what your top was, or?
No, the top is going to be, and we could just move on as soon as I say it, because there's not much to be said, is The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It had to be said. It had to be said.
To this day, it's still uncomfortable to watch. Like,
I won't watch it.
yeah.
I'm not going to say it's not scary, or but I just won't watch it.
Yeah, it's still uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah. It definitely,
Yeah.
that movie messes with your head for sure.
Yeah.
It's
I feel that my Christian beliefs that have developed over time steer me away from like actual depictions of the devil.
right.
Like to me, horror is the horror of like human beings, well, not so much, I guess, with Shadow the Vampire, but when we get to possession and that, it's like I kind of just don't want anything to do with it. It doesn't mean it's not
Oh yeah,
made or effective or whatever, but it just doesn't jive with my beliefs anymore.
Right.
You know.
Sure.
But yeah, all right. So that no one wants to talk about it.
Yeah, it's like that movie. Like you're just like, oh, let's move on.
Yeah.
I want to say one thing about it though. When I was, this was years ago as a teacher. We went to I think it was some museum in the city, a museum of film history,
Mm-hmm.
and they had the doll that its head spun around.
Oh, get out of here! Oh wow!
And they had that scene on an endless loop on a TV in front of it.
Oh man!
Yeah.
That's
I was
crazy.
like, we're bringing kids to this? Like,
yeah, enjoy it, kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
it was like
boundaries
an
were
endless loop of an endless loop. Like
that's kind of messed up.
Yeah. But yeah, no, frightening movie.
Yes.
I said I wasn't allowed to read the book, and Ray's mother got it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I read it at night, and I was frightened. It was frightening.
Well, see, that's kind of like a funny connection between you and you and Ray. Like, she got the book for you, and you got the movie for me for like Christmas.
I gave it to you on Christmas. It was wrapped underneath the Christmas tree. Yeah, I've changed a lot from those days.
Yeah. But that is a scary movie, all right.
Yeah, no, and but like a part of me just thinks it just shouldn't have been made.
Yeah.
You just shouldn't make things like that.
Yeah, I hear you.
Shall we get to the bad movies?
I think so. Rolling right along.
Who's leading off? I would be glad to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go for it.
All right. My fifth worst horror movie, Wolf, starring Jack Nicholson.
Playing himself, of course.
Yeah. Directed by Mike Nichols. He won the Best Director award for directing The Graduate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Wow.
My take on this was a misguided and bizarre amalgamation of the cutthroat world of publishing and lycanthropy. The screenwriter
go hand in hand.
Yeah, the screenwriter Jim Harrison left the production because of creative differences with Mike Nichols, the director, claiming, "I wanted Dionysian, but he wanted Apollonian. He took my wolf and made it into a Chihuahua." He went on to say, "I cracked up for 10 minutes and then went out into the country and stood in front of a wolf den and apologized while my dog hid under the truck." Following his experience with this film, Harrison decided to leave Hollywood. The film release was delayed because the ending had to be reshot because it was poorly received. I wish I could see what the ending was.
Yeah. We can only imagine.
That was worse than what it was.
Oof.
Time Out wrote, "Quite frankly, it's hard to fathom why exactly anyone would have wanted to make this slick, glossy, but utterly redundant werewolf movie. Overall, this is needlessly polished nonsense. Not awful, just toothless, gutless, and bloodless, but I say awful."
Right.
Here are my thoughts again. The scene where Jack Nicholson urinates on James Spader was probably one of the stupidest things I've ever seen. Closely rivaled by the slow motion shots of Jack leaping up the side wall of a zoo cage or attacking Spader in slow motion. It was just a bad idea and should never have happened. And in my opinion, it does a lot of damage to the werewolf legend. I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
That movie's not only on my list of the worst horror movies, it's on my list of the worst movies. Yeah. It is so horrible.
It's awful.
There's
no chemistry between Michelle Pfeiffer and Jack Nicholson.
No. Like they should have thought that through a little bit more, I think. But
it was awful.
Yeah. The parts I've seen, they were pretty terrible. I never saw the whole thing, and I never plan on watching it. But
it's like 2.5 hours, I think, that movie.
Yeah.
It's like The Exorcist. We shouldn't talk about it.
Yeah. Well, we can move on. I'm ready. I said what I said.
All right, Ray, you want to go, man?
I think I'm going to start with. This is a bad movie. I don't know if any of you remember it even. House. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh yes.
oh, this
Well, you-
movie. Yeah, and they say it's like a great movie because it's like a horror comedy. You know, like it started out. I'm like, it wasn't meant to be
Yeah,
comedy.
yeah, no.
There's no
It's
way
funny.
this
I
movie
saw
was
that
meant
just
to be.
recently. It's so funny you mentioned that. That's
Oh,
great. Oh my god.
like you can't have Richard Mole as the villain. Like he just
Yeah. And then the fact they made a sequel, the second story,
Yeah.
like
yeah. Oh.
That's great.
Now,
yeah,
if we wanted like the best comedies, it would make a different list.
yeah. I'm sure it didn't do William Katz's career any good either.
Oh, that movie is foul, man. It's rotten.
Yeah,
I don't really remember it, so I don't have a lot to say. I remember it, but I don't remember
yeah,
why.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's like shooting like demons, and then like the cops come, and he's just like, "Oh, I was just cleaning my rifle." Like it was just, yeah, no, like yeah, he like fell down this hole in a mirror in the house.
Yeah,
And,
everything is so laughable, and it's not
yeah,
meant to be in any way.
yeah. That's a very good choice, Ray.
Yeah, good job, Rick.
Yeah, it's very good.
All right,
Right,
go for it.
Okay, number 5 on my worst list is the movie, another Stephen King, Graveyard Shift. I don't know.
Okay. With
Have
the
you ever
rat
seen
and stuff?
the bat? Yeah, the rats and the
Yeah.
textile factory.
Yeah.
Like, and not all of his books translate well into movies. Like, sometimes it's just a bad idea. And it was like, wasn't so much that the story was that terrible, but it was like the acting. Like, what's this guy's name? And David Andrews. He played the protagonist, John Hall. But then you had this guy Stephen Mox who played Warwick, and it was supposed to take place in a New England town. And the Stephen Mox who played Warwick, he tried to do this like New England accent, but it was so bad. Like it was just like and then like and that alone, like it's like I mean I watch it just for that to like hear him talk about it. But then when they're cleaning out and the big final scene when he confronts the bat, he's like, "You and me will go to hell together." It's like so hammy.
Doesn't the bat like engulf him or something?
And it closes it just like plap.
I kind of remember this movie, but I don't. I almost kind of want to see it now.
Oh my god, it's
These aren't
worth a look.
necessarily the 5 most unwatchable movies.
But
Yeah.
they're probably
The
more,
5 most
Yeah.
stupid,
I mean,
terrible.
like, this is a fun one though. Like, if you have to see it's on, like, just watch the end part. Even like, it's just,
ironically, these movies are probably more watchable than the best ones.
Yeah, because you can't stand the other one. They're scary.
So anyway, that's I'm not going to take up any more time with this one. Let's move on.
Okay. Back to Ray.
Yeah. This is a good one. This movie
Oh, no,
actually.
Ken goes again, doesn't he?
He could go again.
Okay.
Well, you want it? We could do it either way.
Actually, yeah, it's funny though because I'm really bragging on Stephen King tonight because my 4th pick is Maximum Overdrive. I don't know if it was
that's bad.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's so bad. Like I mean, when the kids they're playing baseball and the soda machine's like throwing soda cans at them and it hits one kid in the butt and he's just like, oh, and they're just so they should have not done it. And I never read the story. I think it's a short story called Trucks. I never read it. But it's just like the acting's terrible. Like
yeah, that's a bad one. Oof.
Yeah, I mean
that's a pile of stink.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it. I'm done with that one.
Okay.
There was a good AC/DC song in that movie.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Who Made Who? That was a good song.
All right, Raymond.
This movie made me angry and want to fight somebody. It was so terrible. After I was done watching, I don't think I never felt more angry after watching a movie.
Wow.
This is The Happening.
Oh.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg. Oh, I'm getting angry talking about it.
I know.
I don't know this one.
Oh my god! Like, yeah, Ray summed it up perfect. Like, you wanted someone to beat up. Like, you're like, I want 2 hours of my life back. Like, this was like no sense.
Yeah.
It is awful. Like, it's bad.
Yeah,
it's so
I
bad.
don't think I've ever seen it.
Oh, like the acting was terrible. Like, Mark Wahlberg's like this. What was he, like a science teacher, right?
Yeah,
and like
you can't have an awful movie and then and he's the lead. Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just two terrible forces.
yeah. It
You
was
know,
M Night. It was a Shyamalan movie.
the
M Night
perfect
Shyamalan.
storm.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was brutal. I mean, I don't know what he was trying to do there, but yeah, it's worth a watch just to see how bad it really is. Like,
Yeah, it's.
that's bad.
I just remember, like, I watching as it's unfolding. I'm like, this none of this could be happening right now.
Yeah,
It can't.
I got to see this now.
Oh yeah, it's beyond bad.
Oh,
That's great.
Is it my turn?
yeah.
Yes, I think so. Number 4,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, number 4. I'll give you my number 4 and number 3. Number 4,
right.
worst horror movies, Suspiria.
Ah.
And
Okay.
in all fairness, I watched it again recently.
Right.
And I thought I gave you the DVD after I bought it, but I have it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I thought I gave it to you because I was like, I hate this movie, and if you like it, just take it. But I had it, so I was like, all right, let me try again.
Right. Try
And
again, son.
try again. No.
Okay. It's not
So
for everyone.
We have, hey, it's good. It's good. Good to have a little friction sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Dario Argento is the most fortunate man in the world. How he ever forged a career out of the trash movie he has made is the evidence of that. None of his stories ever make any sense, least of all Suspiria. I know it's a witches or whatever, and then there's this crusty witch at the end, and then the girl stabs her and she dies.
I know. I mean, like I said, there's not much substance to the story,
Well, now these are my own thoughts once again.
Right.
The movie looks nice. Milli Vanilli looked nice too, but when you scratched a little bit, you found there was no ability underneath it. The front of the DVD cover I mistakenly purchased touts it as one of the scariest movies of all time. I find it more frightening than I actually spent some money on this crap. Next. All right, I'll give you my next one.
All right.
I'm sorry, Ken, but
hey, it's all right.
I think like you hate it for different reasons than why he loves. Like, there's like two opposite ends.
It's like, you know what? Who's gonna watch The Happening and be like, that's a great movie? What are you talking about?
We should do a whole episode on it. Okay, my third worst horror movie, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2.
Ooh, okay. I can see that.
Roger Ebert awarded the film 1 star out of 4, lambasting the film because it goes flat out from one end to the other, never spending any time on pacing, on timing, on the anticipation of horror. It doesn't even pause to establish the characters. Dennis Hopper has the most thankless task, playing a man who spends the first half of the movie looking distracted and vague, and the second half screaming during chainsaw duel. He also commented that it has a lot of blood and disembowelment, which the first one did not have. To be sure, but it doesn't have the terror of the original, the desire to be taken seriously. It's a geek show. I tried to watch it recently, and I made it about 40 minutes in, and I couldn't go on.
Right.
I love LINL. I love the podcast, but not enough to watch the rest of that movie. It's gratuitous violence and special effects. It was the complete opposite of what the first one was.
Yes.
I put it on this list because it almost seeks to undo what was done with the first one.
Right. I think
go ahead.
No, I think I heard something like Toby Hooper was involved in that as well.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to redo he's like, I'm never going to recapture that. So he wanted to go like the extreme, opposite spectrum.
Yeah, he certainly did. He went to the extreme opposite of good.
Yeah.
TV Guide's review was similarly negative, stating that the film feels as if Hooper himself has nothing but contempt for the original and went out of his way to tear it down. So
that sounds accurate.
It's not just that it's so bad, but what it does to the first movie.
Right, the legacy of the first one. Yes.
The New York Times criticized the film, saying Hooper's direction is a little floppy and that the film is not first-grade chop steak. I agree with the idea that Hooper tears down, or at least attempts to tear down, the original. This movie has none of the elements that made Part 1 scary, groundbreaking, and disturbing. Over time, I'm sure everyone involved, these are my thoughts, and almost everyone who has ever seen it just wants to forget it ever happened. I was surprised that Hooper directed this one. I would have expected the steep drop off from one movie to the next to be due to a change in creative vision.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Hooper isn't the genius many have made him out to be. Next.
Wow. Damn. There's a ripping.
Yeah.
I don't remember that one that much.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I saw it, but I have to rewatch
People
it.
want to forget that it even
Yeah.
exists.
It's like it was just gory for gore's sake kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
It was stupid.
Yeah.
I couldn't make it. It was a DJ in a radio station, and it was.
Yes.
They made Leatherface into a cartoon character.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Open a box of cereal, and he jumps out with a chainsaw. Like, you know, it was so stupid.
Yeah. No, because they just wanted to milk the character. You know, the character
Yeah.
was
Yeah. It was a paycheck, I guess. I don't know.
yeah.
What are you gonna do? Yeah, that's
All
funny.
right, Raymond, what do you got?
This is another one. The anger is building up.
If anyone's watching this, just Ray doesn't spend a lot of his time being upset and angry.
No, yeah, it's
So
I've never
if
seen him like
anything
this.
angered him,
I don't like
yeah.
my
Look
only
up.
pet peeve, I would say, is being like insulted by people, you know, who I
Yes.
don't know.
Well, we've come to the right place.
yeah.
So, and I went to the movies to this one, so I was like, you know,
Oh,
fuck,
I
I
understand.
was like,
That's,
fuck you, movie. I fart in all your general directions. I was just, you know, why would you do this to me? And this movie was called The Haunting.
Oh,
Liam
I remember that one.
Liam Neeson and Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, you went and saw that in the theater?
I saw
Ouch.
it. That's why there's anger still.
Yeah,
I still
Wow.
hold resentment.
Oh man, that is bad.
You know, it was just wrong. It was wrong to make this movie. It was
Miscast.
Oof.
yeah. There's nothing.
And it's
There's
if
nothing
I
there.
recall, it's not even scary. Like it's just kind of like
Owen
okay.
something he did, right? Owen.
Yeah, Owen Wilson. Yeah. I would say when you know, like the only redeeming quality of that movie is when they killed him. Like that was, like I was like, all right, now we're getting somewhere. Let's, and then it didn't, you know, it did peak there and it went back down.
Yeah,
That's great.
that's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, that movie.
You got good choices, Raymond.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
But yeah, yeah,
Who is
we
it
can
going to now?
let's move on quick. I can't talk about it anymore.
Okay, my number 3 is ironically The Howling 2. Your sister is a werewolf.
That movie's so disjointed; it doesn't make any sense. Like
I saw it with my dad, and excuse me, the way the scenes would cut to something, they'd just be like, "Wee," you know, like,
yeah.
and it just kept doing that. I'm like, why are they doing this? Like, it didn't make any sense. It was like I do have to see it again. I haven't had a chance to rewatch it, but and yeah, like you said, Christopher Lee's just thrown in there, and it's just it's a train wreck. It's just awful. It's so bad.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
It's like, you know, there's your Texas Chainsaw Massacre too. Like they took away from the original one. Like, you know, it's a shame.
I would guess it's probably not made by the same.
No, I wouldn't think so.
No.
I don't know for sure, but I highly doubt it. Like,
Yeah.
it did not seem like it at all.
What a stupid title! My sister's a werewolf.
I know, yeah. Like, what were they thinking? Like, oh, they'll take this seriously. Like, no, we won't.
Yeah.
But that's all I have to say on that.
All right. So now we're up to second worst, right?
Yes.
And Ken, you gonna go again?
Sure, I'll go again. This one's from the '60s. It's called Color Me Blood Red. It was the same director did what was it, 1000 Maniacs. Like, it's about like a Confederate town and like these Yankee tourists. Like that was one movie he did.
That's John Waters? No.
Yeah, well, he did Color Me Blood Red, 1000 Maniacs, and Blood Feast. Like
Okay.
that's the Misfit song. I think that's where they got the title for the Misfit song, Blood Feast.
Okay.
But so the brief synopsis of this is like this guy Adam Thorg is an artist. I can relate, and he's struggling and selling his artwork or whatever, and he gets in an argument with his wife or girlfriend. I don't really remember. And he stabs her or something, and he sees her blood or whatever, and he's just like, oh, she's like, oh, this is the color I've been looking for. So long story short, he starts killing people and making paintings out of their blood, and it's just it was just not a good idea. Like poorly acted, like the acting is just awful. It was, and like I'm gonna spoiler alert because you'll probably never see this, but like at the end, somebody shoots him in the face with a shotgun. He's like, ink on the canvas.
Oh boy.
Jesus.
And that's all I have to say about that.
Tough one. I don't know the movie at all, so I don't have much to say about it.
I think I have the whole collection. I mean, we could check him out sometime, but there's probably better things to do.
Yeah. All right, Raymond.
I'm gonna use one of my honorable mentions here because Wolf was on my list, but since you talked about it,
Okay.
yeah, I'll give my honorable mention, and it was only going to remain an honorable mention because I didn't really want to bring like remakes into the list.
Okay.
But it needs to be talked about, and it's the Psycho remake. You know and it's only like why?
Yeah.
Like, why are you making it line for line, scene for scene? Like, what is the point of that? And it was terrible.
Like,
It was stale, poor casting. It was just it was like people were just sleepwalking through it.
Yeah. How could you copy something line for line, move for move, and one is great and one is terrible?
Yeah.
It's like almost impossible to do.
Yeah.
Awful.
It's like, let's stop this great movie into shit chowder. That's a good idea.
There was no reason for that.
Yeah. Scientifically, it shouldn't even have happened. Like, physics should say that if you're going to copy something that was great, it should also be great.
Yeah.
It did not work out that way.
That's another good choice, Raymond.
Yeah. Oh.
Very nice.
We're getting either up there or down there.
I think we're at number one.
No, well, I have to do my number two, and then I'll do my number one.
All right.
But we're up the list, or you could say that
Yeah. We're at the bottom. All right.
All right. So here's my second worst horror film of all time: Friday the 13th, Part 9. Jason Goes to Hell.
Oh.
This was directed by Adam Marcus in 1993. So if you forget what the plot is, the film follows Jason's spirit as it possesses various people to continue his killings after his death. To resurrect himself, Jason must find and possess a member of his bloodline, but he can also be permanently killed by one of his surviving relatives using a magical dagger.
Oh, man. Oof. Oh, phew.
Why can't they just say a dagger? Why does it have to be a magical...
The summary above is comical. Trying to merge the mystical and magical elements with the Jason legend was a big mistake, in my opinion. The bounty hunter, Creighton Duke, never explains how he knows so much about Jason's bloodline and the method needed to kill him. He just knows it. None of it makes any sense. Here's more of a summary of this ridiculous plot. You ready? Jason's heart, which has grown into a demonic infant, crawls out of Randy's neck. Stephen and Jessica pull Duke out of the basement as the creature discovers Diana's body and slithers into her, allowing Jason to be reborn and burst up through the floor in his original body, fully clothed and masked. And of course, there's the ending where Freddy Krueger's clawed hand pulls Jason's mask down to hell. And here's my final word on this, and this comes from me. Well, someone should have taken this script and buried it deeply in the ground before the stinker ever saw the light of day. Next.
We're all getting angry.
Yeah, I know. Refresh my memory. Like that was the one at the beginning. Like the SWAT team jumps out and they blow Jason away. Yeah. Okay.
The medical examiner eats the heart.
Yeah, he's like.
Yeah. Okay. The worst horror film of all time, and perhaps the worst film of all time. You ready? I wish we had drum roll or something like that. I can work on that.
Oh wait, hold on a second. I have my sticks here.
Oh, okay.
Wait, Lou, do you want me to go first and then you wrap it up?
Wait, what's that?
You want me to go first with my number one and then you wrap it up?
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. And Ray still has one, right? Or no?
Yeah, I have one left.
Oh, okay, I thought you were gonna use your honorable mention. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
Ken and Ray, and then I'll go.
okay.
Yeah, because it seems like you're gonna have the good rant, so we'll leave it to the end.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, my number one worst horror movie is World War Z, and let me explain why. I went to the theater to see this, me and Kathy, and we walked out. I don't know if you guys like. It's a great book. It was written by Max Brooks, Mel Brooks' son. It's about a zombie plague, taking over the world, but it takes place in different parts of the world. And it's like when I heard Brad Pitt bought the rights to it, I was like, oh, cool, he's a good actor. I like him, And it's just like such a waste of time and effort and talent because it's like he just made it about like, oh, I'm gonna save the world and because I'm Brad Pitt, and I was just like, get the fuck out of here, like they could have made a really great movie. They had the blueprint right there, and no. So it's like that's why you're at number one. Get out. Honorable mention: Jaws: The Revenge. I mean, do I really need to say any more?
No. We've been talking about that one a little bit.
Yeah, that's a hard one. I just don't consider
it.
I just don't consider the Jaws movies like horror movies so much. But that would certainly be on any person's list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
There you have it.
PU.
Raymond?
Yeah, I'll make it quick because this is another one.
Man, you better go see a therapist or something.
If I could take these people and line them up and take a shit on each of them, because that's what they did to us by making this movie.
Wow.
And it surpasses one of Lou's movies by one, and it's Jason 10. Like, you're gonna bring this guy to space? Fuck you!
Yeah.
Get the hell, that's enough. Like, come on, leave us alone.
Those are people that are out of ideas.
Yeah, and you don't like space movies to begin with, so right there, it's like
it's like, leave us alone. Don't make it. Just go home. Like, everybody, just leave.
Yeah.
Do this.
They'll never learn otherwise.
We don't need to talk about what goes on or the plot or any of it. Just talking, just the idea of someone brought this up to somebody should have been slapped. I mean,
yeah.
And that's it.
Like, get the hell out of my office.
And yet, it's made.
Yeah.
People got
turned to profit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Make a statement on human beings.
All right.
Great. All right, we ready?
Let's
do it.
Nightmare on Elm Street, the reboot.
No, I knew you were gonna.
I think it's the worst thing that's ever been made.
Wow.
Honestly. Directed by Samuel Bayer in 2010. Rooney Mara played Nancy, and she was horrible. Jackie Earl Haley played Freddie and was addled by too much makeup. Everything about this movie was wrong. The teens were too old and glamorous. They drove the wrong cars. They had these beautiful cars. They lived in beautiful homes with beautiful yards. Now, I'm not trying to say anything about single parent families, but one of the families has a single mom who's a stewardess. You got to see the house and the yard. It's like I don't even know what to call it. It's like today this house would be like $1.5 million.
Wow.
Everything was just wrong about it. The acting was terrible. The script was terrible. The effects were terrible. And the net result of this movie was a waste of my $4 and a greater appreciation for the original. I rewatched many of the films in preparation for this podcast, so I will never, ever watch this one again. It was that awful. I'd rather stare at a blank screen for 90 minutes. It would be more entertaining and productive. I'm not finished. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times gave the film 1 star out of 4 because he stared at Nightmare on Elm Street with weary resignation. The movie consists of a series of teenagers who are introduced, haunted by nightmares, and then slashed to death by Freddy. So what? Are we supposed to be scared? Is the sudden clanging chord supposed to evoke a fearful Pavlovian response? I think he was being kind.
Wow. That's
And
certainly
my final sentence with my notes here is: this is not only the worst film of all time. I mean, this is not only the worst horror film of all time. Pardon me. It may be the worst film of all time.
wow. I'm gonna have to watch it just once to see, like, for myself how bad it is.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It was absolutely. It was awful from beginning to end.
Wow.
There was nothing good about it. It was all terrible.
I didn't hear many good things about it, and I think, didn't they like focus on he was like a child molester kind of thing or something like that?
But then they mislead you to think that maybe the kids were making it up.
Right.
But then we find out indeed he was a child molester.
Right.
And it was terrible. It was all terrible.
You know, it's funny. The movie is a rotten as rotten gets. But like if you go on YouTube, there's a lot of videos about the movie that are actually very good. Like it's like entertaining. Yeah. There's one. I just remember one part of it was Jackie Earle, like he was talking to the director or something, and he was like, "Yeah," it was just like right before they were about to start shooting the film. He's like, "Yeah, I finally watched the original. I didn't really like it." Like, I'm like, "What?"
Oh man, that's bad. Yeah, what indeed? Like, what the hell?
It's a measure of how how dedicated I am to LINL the podcast and LINL the radio station that I watched that.
Right, you had to sit through it again.
Oof. It was a chore. I had to watch it in like 10-minute increments because it was so bad.
Damn.
It took me like several days to watch it.
Is that one like that you own, or is it on Prime? Or
I rented it somewhere on Prime.
Okay.
It was really, really awful. Everything about it was terrible.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like The Happening. Very similar.
I wish I could see that because I don't know that one.
Yeah.
Once again, for anyone who might be watching this, and thank you for bearing with us. Ray's not one to easily get upset.
It's true.
I've seen him get pretty upset tonight.
Yeah, I don't like when these things happen. How do you even name a movie? Like what? Who sat there and said, "The Happening"? This is going to be a great title for a movie. Right?
Oh my God! It's the trees. Like, what?
It's happening.
I want to say something before I forget it. If anyone is viewing this on YouTube or on the LINL webpage, if you disagree with our picks, please let us know in the comments. Well, you wouldn't be able to do that. Well, maybe if you click on it on the webpage, you probably will be able to get to the comments. Let us know if you disagree. Let us know if you agree. Feel free to list your top 5 and your bottom 5, in the comments. We'd love to interact with people about this too. So I just wanted to, throw that in there before I forgot to say it, because I'd be curious what folks think about.
No, that'd be
what our thoughts are on these.
That'd be very interesting, actually.
Yeah. I feel bad, sort of like I feel like everyone's upset now.
There was some good moments there. We had some good laughs there. It was good. Yeah, definitely check out Graveyard Shift just for that part alone. Like that when the bat wings just like.
I think I definitely saw that movie. I just don't remember it.
Oh, you wanted to forget it. I know.
There's almost a horror movie taking place in my home.
Why? What's up?
Yeah, no, because I'm going to be ravaged by 2 hungry cats.
Oh, the cats, yes.
Yeah. So maybe we'll say farewell, gentlemen. It's always a pleasure.
Yes, indeed.
We've been kicking around ideas. We probably won't stick with the horror genre much after this. It's too upsetting, I think. So maybe we'll go into some sports talk next time. But we'll be back.
Sounds
whether
good.
you like it or not, we'll be back. But Ken and Ray, thank you for your time and thank you for your preparation. You guys brought it tonight.
Yeah, no, you're a great host. Like you make it very easy to discuss the subject matter. It's always a good time. I always have a good time.
Yes, thank you. And it's the teacher skills. You know, you want to frame a discussion for people, give parameters for it. So
Yeah, yeah. So yes, certainly. I'm in next time for sure.
I'm
Cool.
I'm too angry to thank anybody.
Yeah, right.
yeah, well, what's it going to be like if we talk about worst sports moments for us?
It's-
Oh boy. Yeah, maybe we
I'm,
should leave that alone.
I'm not sure I have. I'm not sure I have a top five to complement the bottom five.
I don't know if we're going to even talk about the top five.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I may have like three.
Yeah,
Uh,
we'll talk about the catch. Oh, it hurts.
yeah, yeah.
But okay, gentlemen. So
All right.
yeah,
Great seeing you guys.
it'll take a little while for this to process, but as soon as it's posted, I'll let you guys know in case you want to check it out or share
All
it or
right,
whatever.
cool. Ray, maybe you should take a break tonight. You know,
Yeah,
to
I'm
watch
going
the
to sleep.
comedy or something.
I'm going to sleep.
Yeah.
All right,
All
guys.
right.
Good night.
All right.
Take it easy, guys.
You too.
Okay.
Cold. No.